It's November, which is my birthday month, so I'm kind of putting out videos so you can get to know me better and get an idea of kind of the stuff I like. Today we're going to look at some of my favorite TV shows. Some of these are a bit older and finished, and some of these are ones that are still currently airing. And just because this is not a ranking video in any way, shape, or form, this is just a list. I numbered it 10 through 1 just so I would have some consistency and I would know where to edit, but that's more for the sake of editing it. That just because, the one that comes in at number 1 isn't like my all-time favorite, but this is just kind of a list of the ones that kind of got off the top of my head. So here are my top 10, not in any particular order, TV shows. Number 10, Invader Zim. I was obsessed with this show in my middle school years. I still love it now. And that is because it is so different from all the other Nicktoons. And even at the time was very different. Because it wasn't afraid to go really dark for laughs. The characters were written in a way that's just so unpredictable, and that's what makes the show really fun, is the humor is just kind of all over the place, and there's just, you never really know what's going to happen. Some of the plot lines are just very out there. The characters are fun. They're very well acted. They're very energetic. And it was very short-lived. It only had a season and a half. It only had 26 episodes. And over the past 20 years, though, it has gained more of a following, continuing on as a comic, characters making appearances in Nickelodeon games. It even got a TV movie a couple years ago that I was hoping would wrap it up, but it didn't wrap it up, unfortunately. We didn't get a proper ending. I mean, I'm glad we got something, but I still want this show to get a proper ending, though. Number 9, Star Wars The Clone Wars. It was great back then, and it's still great now. It wasn't afraid to shy away from the brutality of war, and it presented complex themes about how you can't always trust those in power, and also how people on the opposing side aren't necessarily all evil. And it even took Darth Maul, who only got a small amount of time in the Phantom Menace movie where he was introduced, and really, he doesn't really do much in the Phantom Menace movie. He just kind of stands there and looks cool and fights really cool. But what do you really know about him as a character other than he just looked cool? Nothing. But it brought him back, and it made him complex. It made him interesting. They wrote him like a Shakespeare villain. They kind of wrote him a little bit like the devil, but he was really well done. And there's also brilliant foreshadowing in the show of later events that will happen in Star Wars. And the character development of the show was really good, too, because it took Ahsoka, who at the beginning of the show was this super unlikable brat, and I just hated her at the beginning of the show, and it made her really awesome. And, in book form, there was a book that was written called Dark Disciple that was supposed to be 4 or 5 episodes of the show that were never made, but that's the closing for Asajj Ventress's arc. Asajj Ventress is this crazy Sith assassin, and, as the end of the book, you feel sad for her death. This crazy Sith lady who you're supposed to hate because she's such an evil, horrible villain, but no, you're sad that she died because she did have such a good character arc. It also managed to flesh out Boba Fett. Again, Boba Fett in the movies, all he did was kind of look cool, but all he really did was kind of show up, look cool, freeze on solar carbonite, and get whacked into the Sarlacc pit. But here, it took young Boba Fett, and it showed how he became who he was, and I'm sure they'll explore that more in the book of Boba Fett, which I'm very excited for. And, it showed child Boba Fett and how he kind of became a bounty hunter and how he was out for revenge for the Jedi because he blames the Jedi for killing his father, his clone father. So they made him really well done, too. And also, the episodes all had different genres. Some were heists, some were westerns, some were homages to classic stories, some were homages to other classic movies. It was awesome then, and it's still awesome now. Number 8, iZombie. Now, I wasn't a fan of Season 5, the final season. That one just kind of stopped trying, though I was satisfied by the ending, but I just didn't enjoy most of Season 5, but Seasons 1 through 3 and most of Season 4 were pretty good. It's still very witty, it's still quick, and every episode is something different, because the main character basically plays different character every week. You never really knew what was going to happen in every plot, and especially as they kind of expand the lore of the zombies in this world and what happened and sort of the plot twists and, who is a zombie, who isn't a zombie. And this is one of those shows where you gotta have subtitles when you watch it because the writing is so quick and it is so witty. So you probably won't be able to understand what's going on because it comes at you so fast. And also, some of the jokes are so good that you'll be laughing, but then you'll miss the joke that's right after because you'll be laughing at the previous line. So iZombie, great show. Number 7, Batman the Animated Series. This completely changed the Batman mythology as we know it. It presented complex ideas and it gave us fully fleshed out characters. And even changed things up by giving us Harley Quinn, who is super popular now. Yeah, Harley Quinn was not made for the movies. She wasn't even in the comics. She was made for the show. She was made for Batman the Animated Series. She was not in the comics. And, of course, Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy gave great performances as the Joker and Batman to the point where now people, when they read the comics, that's kind of who they hear now. And yeah, it really did a lot for the Batman mythology as we know it. You know, we wouldn't have Suicide Squad or any of that stuff were not for the show, so I think it deserves to be on this list. Number 6, Avatar: The Last Airbender. So as I said before with Star Wars: The Clone Wars, what does this have in common with it? A man named Dave Filoni, because he was working on this before Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and you know that's part of the reason why Avatar: The Last Airbender is only 3 seasons. And even though each season is based on an element and there's 4 main elements, but there's only 3 seasons, is because Cartoon Network kind of pulled him away from it so he could make Clone Wars for that, which I think was good. That's also why the last couple episodes of season 3 just kind of feel like we gotta wrap this up, because he was leaving to go work on Clone Wars. And you can tell that he worked on it, though. You can tell that Clone Wars and Avatar were made by the same guy, because it's a world that's very interesting, and more importantly, the character arcs, much like Clone Wars, are very well done. It has characters who grow and mature through the show. For example, probably the best example of this is Prince Zuko. I almost said Emperor Zuko. Is Prince Zuko, who at the beginning of the show, he's kind of just like this whiny entitled brat, and all he wants is to capture the Avatar so he can prove to his father, get his honor back, because he was disgraced. But as the show goes on, he kind of starts to learn about where it's important. He sort of becomes a good guy, very well done, and then he got his sister who's like super crazy and is like super fun villain. I love Azula, she's a great villain. So yeah, Avatar: Last Airbender, fantastic show as well. Great world building, great characters, great animation, everything about it was awesome. Number 5, The Mandalorian. This is the space western that went back to the classic Star Wars. It was awesome. And of course, you know, like I said with Ahsoka, if you told me that this is who Ahsoka becomes, if you'd show me the Ahsoka episodes of The Mandalorian and then told me, yeah, this is who she becomes at the time when Clone Wars were starting, I would have been like, really? Are you sure? This is the same character? But yeah, like because of Clone Wars, we got this Mandalorian, and she's awesome. Like, she's one of my favorite characters now. And of course, you know, you have the Mandalorians, which are very interesting characters. They take the time to really explain about the creeds and the rules and everything, how it works, without giving you too much information that you don't figure stuff out for yourself, but just enough information about it that it makes sense and you kind of understand the rules and everything and why characters do what they do. And of course, the villains are really well done. They're very well acted. Everyone in the show just does a phenomenal job. And come on, Baby Yoda. I know his name is Grogu. I don't care. Number 4, Firefly. A show that I only recently got into because everyone had been telling me for years to watch it. I was like, well, it only has like 1 season, so like, what's the point? But I finally gave in. I finally sat down to watch it. Glad I did. I watched it a few years ago. I thought it was pretty good. Short-lived. Still great, even though it was only, 12 episodes, 13 episodes, something like that, in the movie. But yeah, the characters are very well done in this show. They're likable, they have a great dynamic with each other, the action's very well shot, the writing's very witty. These are fun adventures, even though it is short-lived. Still a great show. I can see why it gained a cult following. Number 3, Miraculous Ladybug. If you liked Kim Possible as a kid, you'll probably like this. And it's fun because the dynamic between the 2 superhero leads is great because they work off each other very well, and each episode is basically a supervillain origin story. Each episode introduces a new villain, and the villains are really creative, and their origin stories are also really well done. And very rarely does the show reuse villains, and the few episodes that it does reuse them, it's for a reason that makes sense. And the first 2 seasons are pretty repetitive. They're kind of the same thing over and over with the way the episodes are paced, but season 3 is where it starts to get really good. And the characters and plot twists as it goes on just get better. I'm very excited to see where the show goes since it's currently airing on season 4. Number 2, Doctor Who. I'm one of the few people that is still watching the show. I know a lot of fans have just kind of said we're done and they're not watching anymore, but I don't care about the inconsistency of the plot lines. I don't care about the inconsistency of the rules because they reset the continuity like every other season. Like, this show has no rhyme or reason to it. I've learned to just kind of roll with it and enjoy it. Everyone has their favorite doctor. Mine's David Tennant, but Jodie Whittaker's a close second. And I'm very sad that this is her last season. And as of now, they have not, as of me filming this video, they have not announced who the new doctor is going to be. But I'm sure whoever is will do a good job. Very excited to see where that takes you. And I think that the aliens and the monsters, they're very fun. And the show can get really scary sometimes. And it is still fun. Even though the rules are inconsistent, the writing's maybe not the best, it's still fun with that. I'm entertained. That's all that matters. And coming in at number 1 is Mech X4. Like I said, this isn't necessarily the best of all these shows. This is just kind of off the top of my head. I was like, that's a show I like, and they need to bring it back. And I've kind of given him hope that this will continue because, 2020 aside, the show ended like 2018 or 2019. But I hope enough people watch it on Disney Plus that it gets renewed. It's Pacific Rim mixed with Power Rangers, and yeah, the effects are pretty bad, but they're Power Rangers bad, so it's excusable. It still has really good plot twists every episode. Like, I had to keep watching the episodes because every episode would be a new plot twist, and me go, oh, I gotta see what happens next. And very rarely do shows do that for me, but they did it in such a way that I had to keep watching. I got through the entire, 2 seasons, which was only, 40 episodes, something like that. I got through it in about a week and a half. I have a problem. But yeah, the villains are great. They're very well done, even though they're a little cheesy. But they're kind of self-aware that it's cheesy. They very much reminded me of Shigo. They very much remind me of, an evil version of Tony Stark, some of these villains. So I still have a lot of fun with it. I hope it gets to season 3, Disney. Put it on Disney+, do what you have to. Get Mech Explorers season 3. So go to let me know some of your favorite TV shows in the comments below, and I will see you next time.